Yes, Keanu! You are a national treasure.
You're a colorful bunch.
It's a classic line.
Sonic the Hedgehog 3 just released on Blu-ray, so I think now is a good time to discuss the future of the film series. I actually had a prediction for which game the films would draw from next going into the third one, and the mid-credit scene revealed that I was completely right. First, let's recap. The first film is a loose take on Sonic 1, with Sonic meeting Eggman for the first time in Green Hills. The second combined Sonic 2 and 3 and Knuckles, with Sonic meeting Tails, fighting the Death Egg robots, and going Super for the first time from 2, and Eggman's manipulation of Rad Red to acquire the Master Emerald coming from 3 and Knuckles. And the third is predominantly Adventure 2, taking the backstory, Gerald's plot to destroy the world, and Shadow's introduction and development, and some iconography from Shadow's game sprinkled in. So which games will they pull from next? In the games, Sonic and friends are just from Earth. Earth is where these animal people originate, allowing Gerald to create Shadow based on murals found in the ruins of the Echidna race. In the films, however, they're all from other planets, so Shadow instead arrived in a meteorite decades before Sonic's arrival. The use of a meteorite evokes the imagery of the Black Comet, and while it seems unlikely Black Doom will have anything to do with Gerald in this universe, I think him appearing as the sole creator of Shadow, potentially still based on some prophetic mural depicting Super Sonic, is not only still on the table, but basically guaranteed. There was already talk of a potential Shadow and Knuckles spin-off show right after the third film came out, so that's the obvious direction to go for it. Shadow is revealed to be alive, he encounters the Echidna murals thanks to Knuckles, and saves the world from Black Doom by borrowing the emeralds from Knuckles. As for the films, the next one is Sonic CD. The third film's mid-credit scene has Sonic encounter a herd of Metal Sonics, only to be saved by a yet unvoiced Amy Rose. Even before number 3 released, CD was the obvious next step. It debuted the fourth part of the core quartet, and CD coming after Shadow is introduced allows his existence and fights with Sonic to inspire Eggman to create his own Sonic counterpart, which is a new but perfectly logical direction to go. However, with Eggman currently believed dead, and coming right off the back of him teaming up with Sonic and friends to save the world, there's no real motive nor means for him to make one Metal Sonic, let alone a horde of them. And Eggman's robots up to now have been far less advanced than this. So here's the kicker. I think this is going to be Sonic's take on the Terminator. I think the Metals have come from the future to kill Sonic, and Amy is a resistance fighter who is in love with Sonic and is sent back in time to save him, a la Kyle Reese. Whether or not this will therefore lead to Son Amy being canon, I can't say. But CD did have a time travel component to its story, so this isn't entirely out of left field. Hell, the music for this scene is even called Edge of Tomorrow. A nod to Live and Learn, yes, but why that specific line? Tomorrow could just mean the next adventure, or it could mean the future. But who sent the Metals? I think the film will focus on Metal and have something derived from Neo Metal from Heroes for the climax, and save its big reveal of who's behind this until the end, and it will kind of tie into another famous Sonic time travel plot. I think Eggman Nega, under a new name to avoid sounding like a slur, will be Eggman's descendant like in Rivals, and be the overarching threat for the next trilogy, potentially also played by Jim Carrey. That way we can continue with the idea of the Robotniks seeing themselves as the hero while they perform acts of evil and potentially continue Ivo's character arc instead of resetting him just for the sake of having a purely evil Robotnik again. The Descendants' motive will be the same as Silver in Sonic 06, stop Sonic from destroying the world. But since the Flames of Disaster have already been reimagined in the Knuckles show, I think the cataclysm Sonic will be blamed for is instead an aquatic apocalypse caused by chaos. This will set the stage for a loose take on Adventure 1, which will tie into the Echidnas and their crimes against Chaos. It likely won't be the same since they toned down Maria's death, and I think little Chow Baby's dying is a step too far, plus they exist as a human invention as a mascot creature, so I doubt they have alien origins here. If anything, it could tie into Frontiers, but what matters is, Sonic's connection to the Echidnas and the death of Longclaw will be a big focus here, bringing Sonic's story full circle. And since the Echidnas and the Emeralds are a big focus, with no obvious new friend to introduce alongside Chaos, this would be the ideal time to introduce Rouge. I imagine they plan to include her at some point, just as soon as they figure out exactly how sexy they're allowed to make her. Alternatively, you could go more wholesome and introduce Cream and Cheese because you have the Chow connection there. That's also viable. It just depends on how much screen time Vanilla's going to get, and exactly how sexy they're allowed to make her. Now, I imagine they'll want to aim for a second trilogy here if possible, so this fits most as the conclusion to that due to the full circle idea. So what can they do in between? They could introduce Silver and do a loose take on Sonic 06, or have it be Film 5, then have a war with Eggman Nega inspired by Forces for Film 6. So here's my broad overview for this series. Black Doom sends Shadow to Earth to acquire the Chaos Emeralds. He suffers some level of amnesia and is taken in by Gerald and Maria. Maria is killed and Gerald begins plotting to destroy the world. Sonic flees to Earth when Longclaw is attacked by the Echidnas. Sometime after, the Echidnas are almost wiped out, leaving Knuckles as the last known of his race. Sonic meets Tom, and the two start their journey to becoming family. Ivo is brought in to investigate Sonic, but he's bested and sent to the Mushroom Planet, where he meets Knuckles. The two travel to Earth right as Tails does. Sonic, Tails and Knuckles become friends and foil Ivo's plans for the Master Emerald's power. Knuckles mentors Wade Whipple and unlocks the Flames of Disaster. Ivo meets Gerald and helps him and Shadow, but joins Team Sonic when he learns Gerald plans to destroy the world. Gerald is murdered by Tails and Knuckles, and Shadow has a change of heart thanks to Sonic and the lessons he learned from Tom. The world is saved, but Ivo and Shadow are presumed dead. Shadow meets up with Knuckles and learns his origins with the Black Arms when Black Doom comes to collect the emeralds. Super Shadow and Burning Knuckles defeat him. Sonic is said to cause the rise of chaos, creating a bad future. Ivo's descendant, En, sends Metal Sonics back in time to kill him, but Amy Rose comes back too to save him. Neo Metal Sonic confronts Sonic and is defeated. Sonic learns about Chaos and its connection to the Echidnas, confronting him with Longclaw's fate. Super Sonic defeats Perfect Chaos when it's unleashed, understanding its reason for being evil and speaking to the good inside it based on lessons he's learned from Tom, Shadow and the others, causing Chaos to stand down. He also meets Rouge the Bat. En then travels back in time to confront Sonic himself, causing a war that threatens to be more destructive than Chaos. Sonic and all the friends he's made along the way battle En, but it's the re-emergence of Ivo that gets him to see reason in the end, finally breaking the curse of the Robotnik bloodline. Sonic and friends then live happily ever after. Of course, it's possible any of these ideas could be dropped to draw on a newer game, since this would most likely wrap up around 2031, and Sega will probably have roughly an entire one new game out by then. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you.